And Ben Simmons picked up the loose ball at the other end, and that's the only time he's touched it, and the chorus of boos begin.
He tries too hard to play like the NBA player he's not. He tries to do hook shots and play like Rondo.
5 points. Get him out of here.
I've been the biggest Ben Simmons supporter. I've always had his back. Everyone talks shit. What was that, man?
Quitter. That's all. I don't like quitters. He quit. Ben, you are trash.
You would say that to him.
I would say that the best thing. I would say that the best thing.
If you guys watch basketball, you already probably know the legend of Ben Simmons. But I want to ask you all to put your biases and your feelings aside and think about the career and controversy of the 27-year-old guard who has already achieved the highs and the lows of a full NBA career. This is Ben Simmons. It's only right we start from the beginning, so let's go back. Ben Simmons was raised in Newcastle, Australia, pursuing his first two loves, basketball and Australian rules football. Now, don't ask me too much about what Australian rules football really entails, but Ben Simmons had the same passion that he had for basketball while playing that sport, which made his decision to commit to basketball very difficult. During his sophomore year of high school, Ben Simmons took a risk and left his hometown in Australia to play against the best high school talent in the world at Montverde Academy. Montverde is known for producing NBA talent, currently hosting players such as Cooper Flagg and Liam McNeely on their roster. But even back in 2013, the team had high-level players such as D'Angelo Russell and made a point to play the best teams all around the country. Over the course of 3 seasons in high school, Ben Simmons showed that he was not only the best player in all of high school basketball, but one of the top basketball prospects in the entire world. As an 18-year-old kid, he was pulling in comparisons to LeBron James and has legends such as Shaquille O'Neal saying he was one of the best basketball players on the entire planet. So when the number one prospect Ben Simmons committed to LSU over schools like Kentucky, Kansas, and UCLA, a lot of people were surprised. In his lone season at LSU, Ben Simmons showed incredible flashes of his on-the-court talent, but the Tigers' disappointing season, mixed with claims of him being a diva off the court, rang some alarms for certain fans. The reporter to break the first news on this story was ESPN's Jonathan Givony. Givony was one of the league's only experts to not rank Ben Simmons as their number one prospect, and he made it pretty clear he didn't think he was a mental fit for the world's best basketball league. Simmons' lack of competitiveness in some crucial games has raised questions about his character as a basketball player. While many top picks succumb to the NBA star lifestyle and emerge as average competitors, it's rare to see that at the collegiate level, said Givony. I also wanted to shout out this NBA DraftNet user named Dudo670, who had this to say pre-draft about the number one prospect. You can pause the video to read it, but I have to give him credit to Dudo for predicting a Joel Embiid MVP and Ben Simmons not to live up to the hype before his rookie year. That's a pretty good get. But anyways, back to the timeline here. Even with attitude issues up in the air pre-draft, 76ers head coach Brett Brown decided to trust the process and take a chance on Ben Simmons with the first overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. Ben Simmons' career did not start the way Sixers fans had hoped for, as he broke his foot in training camp and ended up missing the entirety of what would have been his rookie season. This huge blow had the haters ready to jump on Ben Simmons early, and as we know, there is no easier time to hate on a player than when they're not on the court. Just look at what we're doing with Zion Williamson right now. But back to Ben. His foot had finally healed by the start of the 2017-2018 season, and he came out firing, dropping 18 and 10 in his debut game against Washington. This success continued the rest of his debut season as he averaged 16, 8, and 8 and would be given a very controversial Rookie of the Year award. In all honesty, I kind of hate to call it controversial because we all know that a player's rookie season is only counted by the first season they get to play, and we saw that in the past with Blake Griffin. But NBA Twitter was ready to give the award to Donovan Mitchell because he was actually drafted that year, which I think was an unfair criticism to Ben Simmons in this case. This is where it became somewhat obvious that there was a subsection of NBA fans who wanted to see Ben Simmons fail, as we never saw Blake Griffin get discredited for balling as a rookie after being sidelined for his first season. And to be honest, we're not seeing that same energy for Chet Holmgren on the Thunder this season, but let's just move on. Coming off his Rookie of the Year campaign the season before, Simmons made a point to prove that he was a real elite player in the NBA. He put up 17, 9, and 8 in the 2018-2019 season and earned himself a spot in the NBA All-Star game. The next year, Ben Simmons stepped up his game even more, earning All-NBA third team honors, and he made a statement, being included on the NBA All-Defensive First Team and being arguably the best defensive player in the entirety of the NBA. After back-to-back incredible seasons, many sources projected Ben Simmons to be one of the best NBA players in no time, placing him above guys such as De'Aaron Fox and Jason Tatum on their annual top 25 players under the age of 25 lists. In 2021 is where things started to hit the fan between Simmons and Philadelphia. The 76ers had now come up short in the playoffs for 3 straight years, and with Ben Simmons shooting becoming more of a pressing issue, trade talk started to be talked about with Ben Simmons' name right at the forefront. Ben Simmons continued playing solid that season, but he had clearly taken a step back from his All-NBA caliber, which was shown the most during the 76ers playoff run. While Joel Embiid was playing like one of the best players in the world, and Tobias Harris was playing above his expectations, Simmons was shooting 34% from the free throw line and was just visually off his game. In the semifinals against the Atlanta Hawks, the media was scrutinizing Simmons heavily because of his clear lack of confidence. And in a make-or-break Game 7, Ben Simmons passed up an open layup and passed to Matisse Thybulle, which went viral on the internet for summing up some of Simmons' most obvious on-the-court problems. This play led to the 76ers ultimately losing the game and being knocked out of the playoffs once again. After that Game 7, which kept the Sixers away from the finals once again, Joel Embiid and Coach Doc Rivers were honest and noted that that play was a turning point for the 76ers. And with 4 years left on his contract, Ben Simmons decided that he would no longer play for the 76ers and made it clear he was willing to sit out for the remainder of his contract, as well as requested a trade. Over the offseason, the 76ers shopped around Ben Simmons, but they were not willing to lower their pretty high asking price for the sought-after young player. They were under the assumption that they'd be able to convince him to come back to the team if they really had to. After no trade went through and Ben Simmons skipped media day, training camp, and the preseason, Ben Simmons finally returned without any warning due to the hefty fines that he had been getting for skipping out on his contractual obligations. Only 8 days later, he was suspended after getting kicked out of practice for not being engaged, and he refused to suit up for the 76ers ever again. Now, I don't think it's fair to criticize someone for mental health issues, which was clearly partially what Simmons was going through at the time. And as a lot of you know, mental health can affect people in a varying amount of ways that can be hard to understand from the outside. But with all that being said, it was clear that the 76ers still had to move on from Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons met again with the front office that January, and no process was made. So in February of 2022, Simmons was traded to the Brooklyn Nets in the James Harden trade. Simmons was given an opportunity to publicly change the way that he has been perceived throughout his career, and he had the chance to return to the high level of basketball that he was playing just 2 years prior. But his debut in Brooklyn started off in the worst possible way as he herniated a disc in his back and was ruled out for the remainder of the season right after the trade deadline. The season after, he started his season in October, putting up so-so numbers for Brooklyn before re-injuring his back and only playing a total of 42 games for the Nets in 2022. Now, guys, we're all the way in the present, and sure, that trade for James Harden didn't work out for Philly, but I don't think Brooklyn's super happy about what they got back either. I mean, the year's 2023, and although Ben Simmons started the first 6 games of the Nets season this year, he was recently hurt once again against Milwaukee, and he doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. When he does come back, I think you and I both know he honestly isn't the player he was in his early years in Philly regardless. I mean, his stats are not up to par with what we expect from a guy that was supposed to be one of the best players in the NBA by now. You could chalk it up to his confidence, or maybe his off-the-court presence, or I think a lot of you will chalk it up to his shooting, which is definitely fair, but what do we really expect Ben Simmons to do for an NBA team in the future? What does his future hold right now? He's only averaging 6, 7, and 10. And to be honest, guys, those numbers just aren't going to cut it anywhere. I do think he has some potential to be an effective NBA player again. He might not be the best shooter, but he does have elite playmaking and defense, so if he's healthy and on the court, I do think he could be useful to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, I'm Colin, this is Next Man Up, and before you click off the video, head down to the comments and let me know. Do you think Ben Simmons can ever return to that all-star level that I mentioned again? I mean, some people will still have faith in him, and I respect it if you do. So let me know. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out. We'll catch you in the next one.